Quiet on set. Picture is up. All right, roll sound.
Rolling.
Roll cameras.
Cams rolling.
And 3, 2.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome back to Hank's Think Tank. It's a Sunday. We've got a great show for you here today. I have Milam Langella, and he is running for United States Congress in the Texas 2nd Congressional District. Our incumbent is Dan Crenshaw, and also in that race we have Jameson Ellis and Martin Etwop. Mr. Langella carries an extensive military history with active combat. Thank you for your service, sir.
You're welcome.
And is currently an airline pilot. Welcome, Mr. Langella. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic.
I appreciate it.
How's the campaign going?
Campaign's going pretty good. We've recently skyrocketed. We had a lot of growth over the past 2 weeks or so, past 2.5 weeks. So it's good.
Fantastic. And I wanted to remind everybody that early voting starts when? Valentine's Day. So make sure and get out there and vote before you get out there and buy chocolates for your loved ones. Okay, we've got a couple of questions for Mr. Langella we're going to ask, and then we're just going to jump into a discussion. And we may finish some of these, we may not. It all depends on how it goes. So what was your decision to run for Congress?
Well, I looked around and I saw a lot of things happen in the country that just weren't the same U.S. that I grew up in, you grew up in, my wife, and my team. And it's not the U.S. that I want to turn over to our children. History suggests that the path that we're on now leads to tyranny, oppression, communism. So that's not going to happen with me. I can't sit on the sofa and tell my kids, fend for yourself. I have to do something now. And so that's why I'm trying to get in office. Well, that's why I will get in office.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's really a good reason. I kind of agree with you on that. It's not the same America. Had a conversation with my wife the other day, and I said, do you remember back when, I think it was Three's Company or one of those comedy shows were on?
Yeah.
And, just that era, it seemed like everybody was a lot happier and things were just a lot smoother.
Yeah.
And
I told my wife, too, I was like, remember when the other party, when they lost, immediately that they congratulated the loyal opposition.
Right.
And they went and they got things done. Now it's a blood sport. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. It's gotten bad. All right. So one of the big topics today is border security, the border wall. My question really is, do you think there are any alternatives to a border wall? And
No.
If so?
No. First off, the physical barrier is there to focus and funnel individuals to come through one avenue, right? One avenue of approach.
Right.
So that you don't need as many border patrolmen to monitor that area. It really slows down the traffic. So no, you do need a physical barrier there. And then also they need to be tracked. And I know that might sound bad, right? But who's coming into the country? Where did you come from? Who are you? And what can you bring here for the betterment of the United States? That needs to happen, without a doubt. So no, is there an alternative to the wall? No.
Mm-hmm. Do you think our immigration process just needs a complete overhaul anyway?
So does it need to be streamlined so things can happen faster, to take the excuse away from individuals in the government? They're saying, well, it's too slow, so we need to let them in. Yeah, we need to look at it. Sure. What can we do to streamline the process to make it faster? Sure. But also, what do we need to do to keep that process secure?
Right. And you really can't do that in a speedy way. I just don't see it happening.
No. So right.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be pretty tough to manage all that. And I think that, border policy and just border security is such a complicated issue. I think it's just going to take years to map out, no matter how we do it.
Yeah, erasing the border. Yeah, erasing the border is not an option either, right? So
right.
So there's a border there for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Let's figure this out.
Yeah, hopefully we can. All right. Okay, so the next big thing is voter confidence.
Yeah.
And I think this kind of resonates with everyone, So what are your ideas on voter confidence, and how do you think we can bring that back? Because if we don't get back to that, we're going to have problems from this. Yeah, we're done. So what are your ideas on reinstituting voter confidence?
Well, it comes back to education. Really comes back to education, because how many children today are really taught the Constitution? I know that I learned it in school. Mm-hmm. I know that my children are not. They learn it from daddy, right? Mm-hmm. I bury that into them, what the Constitution is. And then also that ties back to the border. You can have the best voting system, but if you have garbage in, garbage out, illegals in, voting in a legal system on a great system that might track everyone properly, you're still going to get an erroneous answer at the end. So we really need to control the border, educate people on the Constitution, and go forward from there. And then really each one of the parties, it needs to start at the top. Each one of the parties needs to throw ice on this, chill everything down. Not every politician is out to get everybody, but it seems like that's the way for them, one an opposing party to beat the other, right? Is to hyperbolically attack the other individual. And I think it's really incumbent on the leadership to say, this is an issue. However, now that you voted this individual in, we can go forth and try to mitigate the issues that are brought up by not leaning full into the policies that one individual is setting. And I mean specifically with Biden.
Okay.
Right? We can mitigate his authority through a proper House and Senate. We don't have to light fires in order and overthrow a government. Not that we are, not that any conservative has, but we're painted as that as soon as we raise up our voice and say, redress of grievances under the First Amendment. We're seen as tyrants. We're not. I think the party in power now, the Democratic Party, needs to really throw ice at this and say, look, the people on the right are not crazy. They have rights, and we should hear them.
Right. I could agree with that. Well, what about the 24-hour voting thing I saw on your website?
That's it, 24 hours.
So just get rid of early voting, get rid of mail-in ballots and all that. Just go with 24-hour. Got to be there to
right.
do it.
I mean, I say 24 hours, and that's being generous, right? Can we do it like my mom and dad did from, 8 in the morning to 8 at night? Yeah, we can get
something
that.
like that.
Yeah, we can get that done. But if you really want to help workers like healthcare workers and like first responders, you can open up to 24 hours, sure. But it also mitigates the amount of time that individuals can cheat, throw the vote.
Right.
So, and then you have to be there. Unless you have a real good excuse as why you can't be there, then request a mail-in or absentee ballot, get one in the mail, and then send it in. Other than that, that's really it.
Have you looked into blockchain voting yet? Have you thought about that at all?
So I know blockchain voting was talked about, but again, if you have a central location, me being a military guy, right? If there's one central location for me to attack, I'm going to get it, right? So if you have this disaggregated system, where the states actually tally their votes, keep this off of a national level, I think that's more secure. But no matter what type of voting system we have, the people that would want to thwart the efforts of a legal vote are going to find it. So the voting system needs to evolve with that. In fact, evolve ahead of that.
Okay, cool. I like it. All right, so let's talk about taxes.
Yeah.
The one thing that everybody loves so much. Tax day is coming up pretty soon. So I know that you support a fair tax.
I do.
So for the guys that don't know what a fair tax is, because there's flat tax, fair tax, and of course what we have now, let's talk a little bit about what fair tax is.
Sure. So fair tax is basically a national sales tax, right? So you like guitars, it seems, right? So you want to buy guitars, you're going to pay your tax on that. I don't want a guitar. I like guitars, but I'm not buying them, so I don't pay the tax on that. But I will have to pay tax on the other things that I get. So it's going to even out, regardless whether you make $100,000 a year, $50,000 a year, or $1 million a year. No matter what it is, you're all going to have to pay it. Whether you're visiting or happen to be here illegally, you're going to get caught in that tax. And so I think that really helps out.
So it's like an added sales tax on top of what we already have, I guess, in Texas, because I don't think every state has sales tax, do they?
I'm
not sure.
Don't think that they all do, no.
Right.
So
it would just be a consumables tax.
Exactly.
So every purchase you make, groceries, gas, whatever it is.
And the good thing is, right, a family of like mine, I have a family of 6, I have 4 kids, my wife. We would get a prebate check. That would amount to something like, in my case, maybe $500 a month. And that would help offset the things that I have to buy for those kids. But the good thing is, as my kids grow up and become productive Texans, productive Americans, that prebate would drop off for me, right? And then another family, obviously up and coming, that prebate would help them.
Okay.
So it's not really a welfare system.
So it's kind of a child tax credit type thing?
Kind of, right? I mean, because we're already getting a tax credit now for having children, which is fair for me. But for people who don't have kids, it's really not fair for them, right? Because they don't get any rebate or anything for not having children. So,
Do you know if there's been any studies done on how much a fair tax like that would be? I mean, what percentage would it be on top of? And I'm just curious.
Was it 38% or 20%? 23%? It's 20. Thanks.
23%.
Yeah.
So you just add 23% on whatever you're purchasing.
Right. But the good thing is, right, so employers wouldn't have to take out money for federal tax.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have to pay healthcare. Well, no, I shouldn't say healthcare. No, you wouldn't have to pay any other additional taxes into your employer. You would get 100% of your money.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had 100% of your money coming in, then you, the taxpayer, the citizen, can choose where you want to spend your money, and those are the items you would get taxed on. You want 6 Corvettes, you'll get taxed on 6 Corvettes. You don't want to buy 6, buy 1, you get taxed on the 1. I say Corvettes because I like them.
Gotcha. And really 23% is not all that bad when you think about how much I'm getting raped for right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's really a fair tax.
Yeah, it really is. All right. So what economically, I mean, let's talk about the U.S. economy a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and it really depends on where you go, what kind of answer you get. I've gotten answers that are, hey, we're in good shape economically, and I've gotten answers, hey, we're on a downward spiral. So, I mean, what do you think about the economy, and what do you think we can do to get it where we need it to be?
All right, so it all comes back to...
Because really, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
We have a U.S. economy, but we also have an integration of a global economy as well that I don't think we're going to be able to extricate ourselves from.
Right.
At least I don't see that. And that's going to always make, I think, a big difference. And as time goes on, maybe even a bigger difference.
Yeah.
So kind of a complicated issue.
It is. It all comes back to, like, taxing. Mm-hmm. We tax the citizens. The U.S. taxes the citizens to help these bloated programs, which really give most of the people nothing.
Right.
So I look at it as an approach of like medical, right? You stop the bleeding, start the breathing, treat for shock, and then send to higher care. So stop the bleeding would be what government agencies are too large and too overreaching. Like for me, the TSA, too large, too overreaching.
Right.
We can
most 3-letter agencies.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Right. So
we could start
do that,
there.
So stop the bleeding. So let's take the TSA, for example, right? Can our Texas sheriffs take care of that? Yeah. Do we need like other people that say, well, I'm for backing the blue at all levels? Well, all levels, I back the blue, but all levels means federal. And I do not back a federal police agency to police Texans. I don't need that.
I agree.
Yeah, we have sheriffs that can do that. Grow our economy within here. So stop the bleeding federally. Start the breathing. Put people back to work. Open the economy. Let's move on, as President Trump said at the rally. Let's move on. COVID is done, right? It's a cold now, all right? Move on. And then treat for shock. And the shock would be, I'm sorry, I draw a blank. The shock would be getting people back to work and then moving over to a fair tax and repealing the 16th Amendment. And then send to higher care, which would be just keep electing officials that agree and move this forward rather than back.
It's a bold plan, man.
It is.
It's bold.
So if we don't execute something like that now, we're going to be bankrupt and we're going to be ripe for invasion.
Bankrupt doesn't scare me as much as ripe for invasion.
Yeah, well, weak economy, right?
Yeah.
That makes you ripe for a lot of things.
So how long have you been in Texas?
I have been in Texas since 2019. So I got out of the military right around then.
Yeah.
And I came to Texas. So I have a little bit of history in Texas. I'm not native born Texan, but I identify as Texan.
Well, that's good. Yeah. That's good. So let's talk about your military experience a little bit. So I know that you had active military in Iraq, I believe.
I did.
Yeah. So right at the beginning, or when was that?
Yeah. So I was there in 2003. I think I arrived, I want to say January or February of 2003. And then I was there for the initial invasion. Then we pushed up through Baghdad, Al Basra Airport, Safwan Hill. And then my unit was there. 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines was there when we tore down the statue. I was down the street while the guys were doing that stuff. So I was like,
big deal. Great. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it was. So those guys were pretty good. I like
cool.
them.
Defending freedom. I like it. So is there anything else that you would want the voters to know about yourself that maybe isn't apparent or maybe isn't on your website or something like that?
So I think the learning curve when one gets to D.C. is going to be steep. So the other two gentlemen in the race with me, I think their hearts may be in the right place, but they're not ready. we need to hit the ground running. And I already have a team of people that are going to help us hit the ground running. The other individual that's there, right, Dan, nothing bad about him. His policies suck. And so the way he's been voting is the reason why we want him out. And so I will go and replace Dan Crenshaw, and I will vote the way the people of District 2 want me to vote. Because ultimately, I think that's my job will be pretty easy. You know, how does the district feel? What does the district want me to do?
Okay.
And I plan on saying no to DC. So, for example, if a bill they want me to pass or sign doesn't decrease the size of the government and restore civil liberties, then there's no reason for me to sign it, especially if the people in my district don't want me to sign it.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sounds good, too. I do like that idea a lot. Okay, so when you say big government, though,
Yeah.
I mean, and the learning curve is going to be a tremendous one. And so I guess what I'm trying to get at is what would be your plan when you first get elected to go in and start making a difference right away? Because I think it's going to be a hard thing to do if you've got such a great learning curve.
Well,
and it's understandable that you would,
right,
especially
so-
in today's society. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, so I worked on large staffs before in the military, right? So I started as an infantryman, ended as an infantry officer.
Okay.
But I worked on large staffs that were able to do like the creation of units for information warfare, all this kind of thing. So tactics and operational plans that fit into national strategies. So I'm aware of how these things work. I'm aware of the networking that need to be done.
Okay.
But ultimately, when I get there, the things that I want to do is I want to repeal 550 because I don't need to know what your medical history is, nor do you need to know mine. Nor does the government. There's no reason why the government in the 550 bill, all right, needs to know instantly and coordinate with other agencies as to what I'm doing to potentially list me as a domestic terrorist, which would throw me under the purview of 838, which is the Tax Act, and then circumvent my rights there. So those two need to go right away. Also, the Patriot Act. Why would anyone sign on the Sunset Act to that to extend that? That's crazy. So those are in my crosshairs right away.
Okay, good.
So
yeah,
that's
I don't agree with the Patriot. I didn't when it first came out.
No,
So,
but they wrapped it in the flag, right? We got to watch
Yeah.
it. We do, really?
Well, look how they named it. you know?
Yeah.
Just like the American Families Plan that's on the desk right now.
Well, who wouldn't vote for American families, right?
Right,
They
yeah.
put that in there and like, oh, it's the American Families Plan, but that's actually going to grow. It's a $1.8 trillion plan, and is going to have 661 billion new tax dollars added.
Right.
Who can afford that?
I know it's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. So that's part of the Stop the Bleeding. No, we don't need that. And it only talks about free college for 2 years of what level schooling? I can't think. Community college. Right? So that's great. But that doesn't necessarily help, right? And then free, when you sell it to younger generations as free, they like it. They're like, oh, this is free. I don't have to pay for it. No, somebody's paying for it along the way. And the somebody that paid for it isn't getting anything out of it. And that's a poor business model.
Right. My problem with it is a tax enforcement policy that goes with it.
Yeah.
You know, that whole $600 deal where they're,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah. So that means my son, who is younger than 18, who has a little lawn service that he mows for his neighbors and works another little job, they would start watching him. And he's not even old enough to vote. So he's being taxed without representation.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's completely wrong.
You don't need to know what my son's doing. I know what my son's doing.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and we kind of need to get back to that anyway.
Family?
Just too much intervention from the outside.
Yeah.
And too much electronic surveillance and everything else.
Yeah, there's much too much of that.
And hopefully we can get away from it sooner or later. All right, so how can voters learn more about Milam Langella?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter, which is at Milam, M-I-L-A-M 2022.
Okay.
Or you can go to Milam, 4congress.com. I'm also on Getter. I think it's at Milam.
Getter?
Isn't it on Getter?
Yeah, Gettr.
Gettr, yeah.
Okay.
I'm on Getter as well.
All right.
So that's it. And then, of course, meet me. I think my calendar is on the website, too. So if people want to go to one of the meet and greets that I attend, they can do that. People can reach out to me, too, as some have, and say, hey, can you come and meet a small group here and there? Yeah, I'm more than willing to do that, too.
Great. Any public forums or anything that you'll be attending in the next couple days?
I do have one tonight I'm going downtown with the Vote Actively group. I'm sorry, hold on. It was Vote Actively, right? Vote Actively. So I'm going to go to a coffee shop downtown Houston, and then there's going to be a little pub meeting. And then just yesterday at the Trump event, multiple people reached out and said that they knew me, which was a good feeling. And,
Sure.
it's different for me now because I've never been known.
Yeah.
Other than some other things I've done. But yeah, people can meet me. I'm out there.
Yeah. And you'll get a whole lot more of that as the campaign progresses.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, and then once you're elected, you're going to get a whole bunch of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Milam, it was good having you in. I'm glad you
good
got
to
an
be here.
opportunity to tell a little bit about your story.
Thank you.
And hopefully the voters out there will get a good idea of who you are and why they should cast that vote in your direction.
Thank you. I think they will.
Yeah, good luck with the campaign.
Thank you,
and
sir.
I hope it all works out. And all right, guys, so early voting starts when? Valentine's Day. Get out there and vote. Be a part of this whole thing we call America. Make it happen. And be an educated voter. Don't just vote for a name or an R or a D. Get out there and learn what you need to learn. Find people who are in the same alignment with your ideas and thoughts and cast your vote intelligently. That's the only way we're ever going to drive ourselves out of the problem that we're in now. So, Milam, it was great having you on.
It was
I
great being
appreciate
here.
it. I'm Hank Vatt. This is Hank's Think Tank, and we're out.